Welcome to The Planted Runner. I'm Coach Claire Bartholic, and this is the PR Training Lab. If you're new here, what I do is take a submission from a runner just like you, and I create a custom training plan recorded live here on the Planted Runner podcast. So you can see behind the scenes of what I do to create custom training plans for runners all over the world. And if you didn't check out last week, that one was with Melanie, who was on a walk run program for her first marathon. And Melanie actually ended up joining my PR team, which is awesome. So can't wait to follow her progress and cheer her along. If you'd like to enter to win a custom training plan made just for you right here on the Planted Runner podcast, all you have to do is go ahead and first write an Apple Podcast review and then head to theplantedrunner.com/PR lab. That's theplantedrunner.com/PR lab. I'll put that in the show notes, of course, and I'll mention it again at the end. Also in the show notes are the questions that I ask each athlete so you can follow along. All right, so today we are going to talk about Jamie. So Jamie is training for the Lakefront Marathon in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I'm excited to do this one because I ran the Lakefront Marathon a few years ago, and it was a really good race, but it was oh so close to my goal. I was gunning for 3 hours, or sub 3 hours, I should say, and I got so close. 3 hours and 29 seconds. So, of course, I had to run another marathon after that to reach my goal. But the Lakefront Marathon has changed over the years. There were a few years where there were construction issues, permit issues. There was, I don't know if it was the Lakefront Marathon or the regular Milwaukee Marathon, but one of them was people were racing the marathon thinking they got a Boston qualifier. When they remeasured the course, it wasn't actually the right distance. So a lot of heartbroken people there. So anyway, I don't think that was the Lakefront Marathon. I believe that was actually a different race, but the Lakefront Marathon is near and dear to my heart. But at the time that I ran it, it was point to point. So you started way up north of the city and you ran down along the lakefront for the most part. You're in beautiful Wisconsin territory. So it starts sort of like cornfields, a little bit of rolling hills. And then as you get closer to the city, you're in some of the most beautiful neighborhoods, gorgeous big trees along the water, beautiful homes, nice and shaded with these mature trees. And then you head to the lakefront. So if you have ever run a race next to a lake or any other body of water, expect a cross breeze. So yes, when I hit the lake, I was feeling really good for the end of the marathon. And honestly, the wind definitely got the best of me. So it was a crosswind. I was feeling very nervous that I was slowing down, but you know what? I didn't even look at my watch. I had what I had in me and I kept going. Managed to get third place in that marathon and first masters, but it's a smaller race. I think there was maybe 2,100 people when I ran it. So third place and first masters is pretty great. But of course, I really wanted my sub 3 and just barely missed it. So now the race that Jamie will be running this year, totally different, completely different. There, it starts in the city, loops up, loops down. It is a big loop-de-loop-de course, so completely different from what I ran. And fun fact, the reason that I did run that marathon is because I went to college in Milwaukee. So it was great to go back, go see Marquette University again, check it out, see some of my old friends. All right, enough about me. Let's get to Jamie. So I actually already did this marathon training plan for her. So she applied for the show back in June, and then she decided not to wait. She wanted to go ahead and get her plan. And so I already have created it, but It's August now as I record this, so we can kind of check in and see how she's doing with it. But I'm still going to go through my process and see how I would create a plan for her if I was starting today. So let's go ahead and check out Jamie's submission. Her race, the marathon, is October 6th, and she has been running for about 8 years. I asked if there are any injuries that she has, and she said she did have shin splints last fall during the marathon that reoccurred this spring. She has quad and extreme calf tightness that she's been going to PT for. I've continued to run, cut back a little this month to rehab. All is going well. So when I hear quad or a calf tightness. So tightness typically is not lack of flexibility. What tightness is, it's a feeling of soreness. It feels like our muscles have shortened. It feels like we can't get the entire range of motion, but our body doesn't have a very sophisticated vocabulary. So when it wants to stop us from doing something, it induces some kind of pain, and usually when it's muscle soreness, it translates to us as tightness, as if we can't move as far as we normally could in our range of motion. It's not usually a tight or really a shortened muscle. It is usually a sense of soreness. So there's something going on there. I'm happy to hear that she is working with somebody in person, and hopefully that is getting better. Shin splints, hopefully that has been resolved. It reoccurred in the spring. We're in August now, so hopefully she's doing fine and got that sorted out. Shin splints are kind of like a bruising on your shin. It's typically happens in newer runners or people who increase their mileage a little too fast. Not sure exactly what happened with Jamie there, but happy to hear that that is resolved. Okay, let's see what kind of racer Jamie is. Looks like she's raced a lot recently. So, what kind of races has she been doing? She did a 5K July of 2023, so a year ago, in 22:19. Okay, so that's pretty fast. She did a half September 2023 in 1:44, and she says a full minute stop for a train. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine? You're in the middle of a race. You're doing so great. You've got your plan. You're doing awesome. And you have to stop for a train. Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine how frustrated I would be with that. That must be a small race. It must be a race where they can't stop the train. I would never raise something like that. That would drive me bananas. So hopefully she's got a sense of humor about that, because that would make me feel terrible if I had to stop for a train. But anyway, so she did her last marathon a year ago, October 2023. She did it in 3:52. Okay, so 3:52, just under 4 hours, but her 5K is 22 minutes and change. So her 5K speed isn't translating yet to the marathon. She would be able to run a much faster marathon had she trained as well for the marathon that as she has for the 5K. So she has some good raw speed in her. It's not yet translating to the marathon. And typically what that means is that she hasn't built up the endurance for the marathon distance, or it could be strategy, or it could be fueling, hydration, could have been a hot day, all of those things. But typically when I see a much faster, relatively speaking, 5K time than the marathon, it means we still need to work on endurance. And that is a great thing. That is a great problem to have, right? Because it means that you're talented enough to run very fast for a short distance. Now, all we have to do in training is stretch that out, right? Easier said than done, perhaps, but really all that means is it's going to take some time, but you do have the raw speed to get there. So that's really good news. She ran a half in June 2024 in 1:55. She says she didn't race it. Sounds like she's using it as a training run. Did a 5K in May in 23:40. Okay, slowed down a little bit. She says, this was disappointing, but I didn't push the last mile because I knew it was not going well. Okay, that happens. The good thing about 5Ks is if you have a bad race, you can run another one the next weekend. You don't need to have a bunch of recovery from 3.1 miles. And, some races are going to go well, some of them just aren't, and you can try again. 5K PR is 21:46 in 2022. So that's 2 years ago. So again, that's her potential, but that's 2 years ago. So not super relevant for today. Half PR is 140 in 2022. Okay. So again, Jamie's got some potential for a really fast marathon. So let's see what else we can learn about her. And see if she can get to her goal. All right. So, how many miles does she run a week? 20 to 30 miles. That's, if you are metric, that's 32 to 48 kilometers a week. What's the highest amount of weekly mileage you've ever run? She says that she got up to 51 miles for her last marathon. That's 82 kilometers if you're metric. So that is really, really solid. You generally don't see that in first time marathoners, but the great thing about Jamie is that she has run shorter races. She didn't just jump to the marathon. She has taken this over the past 8 years progressively. This is great to see because she's really good at the 5K, and then she's also good at the half, and that again hasn't yet translated to the marathon. But what she has done is built up her fitness, built up her endurance, built up her racing experience. This is all so important. You can jump from just starting running and go straight to the marathon, sure, but you're going to have so many lessons to learn. And the marathon, okay, look, the marathon is challenging no matter when you run the marathon. But when you're not experienced, when you don't know what to expect, when you haven't built up your fitness, when you haven't done other races and you haven't had any successes yet, it's really, really tough to be super successful at the marathon. Obviously, your first marathon's always a PR, so you're going to have some success, so that's great. But it's, wouldn't it be better if you showed up prepared and ready to go and, you have a bunch of experience? I mean, that's the preferred way. I didn't really do that personally. I mean, I did start with a couple halves first before I went to the marathon. But it's a lot less of a shock to your system if you have all the experience from shorter races. You get really good at the shorter races and then you progress to the next step instead of taking big leaps. But anyway, everyone has a different journey. If you want to go from couch to marathon, you can do it. I don't recommend it, but if you are going to do it, be sure to take your time and do it safely. All right, what days of the week does she currently run? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So 4 days a week. That's very solid. She might be able to add in another day at her level, but we'll see what she says about that. She runs long on Sunday. So she's running long on Sunday, but doesn't run Saturday. Okay. So I like to have runners run the day before the marathon. This is important because we want to simulate a longer long run and not run all of our miles at once. Science has shown that the longer we are out there, the fewer good effects we are having in our training sessions, and the more bad effects, the more risks we are likely to have. So if you are out there longer than 3 hours for your long run, you are just adding risk and you're not adding benefits. I know this is a tough concept, especially if you're a runner that can only get 13, 14, 15, 16 miles in 3 hours. I get that, but there are better ways to do that, or at least simulate it. And one of them is running the day before. So let's see what's happening there. I said, how long is her longest average recent long run? She said 7 to 12 miles. Well, that was back in June, so I know her long runs have increased by now. We'll check out her actual schedule in just a minute. What pace would you say is a very easy effort? Relaxed pace. This is a pace so slow that you could talk the entire time, just like I'm talking now. And she said 10:20 to 10:40 per mile. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We have a fast runner that is actually running very slowly for her on an easy day. This is beautiful. This is why she can handle her high mileage. So for those of you in metric, 1020 per mile is about 625 per kilometer. So for her, this is a nice relaxed pace. This is, a minute and a half, probably more than her marathon time, depending on if we're using her old marathon time or what she's capable of now. So it's probably about 2 minutes slower per mile than her actual marathon pace. This is beautiful. Love it. She wants her speed days Wednesday, Friday. She takes a full rest day on Saturday. So we actually did switch this for her. Her long run needs to be on Sunday, preferably sometimes a Saturday. So what we did is we put her long run on Sunday, and then she had a shorter easy run or a shorter steady run on Saturday. She says she's flexible and she does 50 minutes Pilates class, so she generally doesn't run that day. So Jamie actually emailed me and she said that she does have a good rhythm that she's found. So on Monday, she is doing mobility. Maybe she's off. She's doing a little PT work for her hips, which is great. Tuesday, speed work and Pilates, or she's lifting. Wednesday, she's biking in place of an easy run. So that's great. She's doing some aerobic cross training instead of an extra run. This is perfect because you can get some extra aerobic benefits without extra pounding. So she's not getting the risks of going up to some higher mileage, but she's getting the boost from being aerobic on the bike. So hopefully that's an easy bike. She's also doing some PT work / core work on Wednesday. Thursday, she does speed work, which is a tempo or threshold. She also lifts. She says she makes this the biggest, hardest lift of the week and focuses on legs. I love it, Jamie. You're doing awesome. So we always like to make our hard days hard and our easy days easy. So she starts in the morning with a good speed session, tempo session, and then finishes with a lifting session. So what this does is it ensures that she's fresh enough to run well. She can do her speed day well. And yeah, she's going to be a little tired for her strength work, but what is our priority? Running, right? So our strength work supports our running, not the other way around. We don't want to do our strength in such a way that it makes us too tired to run our best. So we don't want to do strength the day before. We don't want to do strength in the morning and speed at night. We want to flip that. First priority first, running first, then lifting. And then she has Friday off. Okay, so that super hard day she had on Thursday, she gets to relax on Friday. She maybe does some mobility work, maybe some PT work, and she says that she takes a full rest day either Monday or Friday. And this is great. This is working really well for her. Again, she is now running on Saturdays, maybe does some plyometrics that I've assigned her, which I love. And then Sunday is her long run and her lift. This is fabulous. I'm super happy that the schedule that I've made for her is actually working. She's in a flow. You always want to be in this up-down flow of work, rest, work, rest, work, rest. That is how we grow. We don't want to work, 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 rest, 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 or work and then kind of work a little easier and then work hard and then still work. We need that recovery time. Fatigue is not the same as effort. So if you keep piling on the stress, you are going to feel more fatigued and you are not going to be able to perform your best. So it's almost like you're wasting your time when you stack hard workouts together because you're just not able to recover from the first workout, and then you're not able to do the second workout to the best of your ability. So spread out the speed work and try to concentrate your strength, your lifting on your harder days if possible. That is all great. So really happy that that's working out. I asked her next, what are your favorite kinds of running workouts? She says she loves all kinds of running workouts. That's awesome. Good for her. I cannot say the same. I have definitely ones that I do not like at all, but I'm happy to hear she loves them all. She loves intervals, short, long, speed, tempo. She likes to put in a lot of effort and she's getting better. So I get that. That's one of the beautiful things about running, especially at first, is that when you put the hard work in, you see results. That is a very satisfying feeling. So I like to see that she's enjoying it. It sounds like she's really passionate about all of it. What are your least favorite kinds of running workouts? She says you can't think of any. That's awesome. She says, I do kind of think plain strides in an easy run are boring, but I know they are important. So we don't do strides in the middle of an easy run. That would be called a surge. A stride is something that you do all by itself, and I typically assign it after a run. So after an easy run, you stop for a few minutes, get a drink of water, bring your heart rate down, and then you do an acceleration of about 20 seconds. The stride is 20 seconds long. Accelerate for 10 seconds, come back down, decelerate for 10 seconds. So maybe those are a little boring, but yes, Jamie, you're right. They are wonderful. If you don't want to do any kind of speed work and you just do strides a couple times a week, that will get you faster, especially if you're a beginner. All right. What kind of non-running physical activities? Well, we talked about that already. She does Pilates and biking, strength training, and short mobility. So all of this is great. Pilates can be really wonderful for runners. It's a nice balance. It does take a lot of strength, and it can be more stretching than runners really need. But that's kind of nitpicking. I think this is probably working out really well for Jamie. So I don't have any problem with this as long as she enjoys it. What are your biggest struggles with nutrition? She says, just the choosing to be good at it. I'm fine with protein as long as I'm thinking about it and making it a priority. I've been struggling getting in too many carbs lately, and generally fats are too high. I crave sweets and gummy bears. Okay, so too many carbs for a runner is possible. Of course, she can have too much too many calories altogether. But too many carbs, I would love to understand more about that. Is she talking about all carbs? Broccoli is a carb, grapefruit is a carb. I'm assuming what she means are the sweets and the gummies. So if she likes gummy bears, eat the gummy bears before the run, have some gummy bears on the run. That's the perfect way to use gummy bears because they're just pure sugar, right? And that's what we need when we are in the middle of a workout, a long run. We want that pure sugar, right? We want the simple carbohydrate so our body can use it right away. If we are eating a bunch of sweets while we're watching Netflix, your body's going to treat those calories differently. It's going to want to store those instead of use those right away. But if you are in a glucose deficit, like you will be after any kind of speed workout or long run, then a few gummy bears is not the end of the world at all. Your body will use those to replenish your glycogen stores, and it's all going to be okay. So, if she is getting enough protein and she's getting too many carbs and too many fats, it sounds like maybe she's in a calorie surplus overall, which, if you are trying to build muscle and trying to improve performance, that's not a bad thing. So I don't know how severe this is, but I would say not gaining a bunch of weight, then it's probably okay. Or if you're gaining just a little bit of weight, that's probably okay when you're in marathon training. Again, she wrote this back in June. It is now August. So her mileage has gone up considerably by now. So this might have resolved itself just because she does need to up her calories to be in marathon training. What are your biggest struggles mentally when it comes to success and performance? She says, when things start to get hard on my body, I mentally cave and agree. Okay, so mental strength, that is something we all need to work on as endurance runners. Running long is hard. Running short is hard, you know? Running speed work is hard. This whole thing that we're doing, this whole sport is difficult. And I have to say that's partly why we do it. If it were easy and wonderful and it made us feel amazing every step, every single person on the planet would be a runner. And that's not the case, right? We do this for delayed gratification. We work really hard. We endure the pain. And I don't mean injury pain, I mean effort pain. We endure that because the reward on the other side is greater. So I have given Jamie some tools, some mental strength workouts that she is working on every week. So hopefully she's using some mantras, she's using some positive self-talk, she's using some of the tools that will help her change her self-talk and understand that that voice that she is hearing to tell her to slow down, that's a protective voice. That is just her brain being, you know, a sweet grandma telling her to slow down, and she doesn't have to listen. So hopefully that is something that is getting better as well. What are you hoping to learn or gain in this training cycle? She'd really like to BQ, which is for her a 3:40 marathon. So I know that she just ran a 22:25K. So she is back to her fitness that she was in, I think it was in 2022. That kind of pace, so 22:25K, that is roughly the equivalent of a 3:34 marathon. Again, assuming that she is in great shape, she is completely prepared, and you know her fitness and endurance have translated to the marathon. Her strategy is good, her fueling is good, she gets good weather. All of the stars are aligning. She absolutely can be Q on this. She will be able to do it. I don't know if it's going to be this time. Again, her course should probably have good weather, but it's kind of a rolling hills course. It is not the Lakefront Marathon that I ran, which is a very beautiful, gentle downhill all along the lake. What hers is a, I think it's 3 loops, kind of. It's sort of up and down and up and down the lakefront, in and out of the city, and it has a few hills. So it's still a good fast course, but it is no guarantee. So I think she has a great chance. Her fitness is there, or at least the potential for her fitness is there. I don't know if she'll be able to do it this time, but if she doesn't, she's definitely on her way to that. She also says realistically, she just wants to PR. I think that is a great B goal for her. So she needs to get sub 3:52. That was her last marathon. I think that is certainly possible based on her 5K time, based on her half time. I think that is completely possible for her. Anything else she'd like to share that would be helpful to her success? She says, I don't think so. Okay, so I have checked out what Jamie has been doing in the couple of months since I wrote her schedule, and she is so consistent. She is clicking off her runs. She is doing walking. She's doing cross training. She's doing some swimming. So it looks just on paper that she really is keeping up with everything. She's feeling good, and she's really, really consistent. You know, in Final Surge, which is the app that I use to write schedules, when you do something, when you complete a workout, it turns green, and there's lots of green workouts on her schedule. So it looks like she is just chipping away at this. She's had some hard workouts, she's had some hill repeats, she's had some cut down workouts, and you know, it looks like, without going too deeply in it, that she's doing really well and working really hard. She still has 8 weeks to go until her marathon. So can't wait to follow up with Jamie, see how she does, and see if she gets her BQ or at least a PR. All right, that is it for this session of the PR Lab. Again, if you would like to be considered to be chosen to get a training plan made for you by me, recorded live here on the Planted Runner podcast, write that Apple Podcast review. It really, really helps the show. And then go to theplantedrunner.com/PR Lab to enter. If you don't want to wait for me to choose you and you just want a training plan right now, head to theplantedrunner.com/plan and it'll have all the information of how to sign up and get one for yourself. That's it for me today. Have a great run today.